What is going on, my specialists? SPC here, and welcome back finally to an all new episode of Tales of a Star Wars Fan. Today, guys, we got a great guest. I've got my good friend AJ from the AJREACTS2 channel. AJ, how you doing, man? It has been years since we've done anything together. Catch me up. What's been going on with you?
Yeah, thank you for having me, and this is gonna be fun. I haven't so 2025. I kind of like went on a little bit of a hiatus. 2026, I'm back and I'm making content regularly, and I'm feeling good about that. 2024, I had my first son, so that's kind of one reason why I, had taken a hiatus in 2025. Just watching him grow and like that, just kind of taking a step back from the content creation, but I'm back now, and I'm happy to be here. Love Star Wars, happy to talk Star Wars anytime. So yeah, let's get into it.
Yeah, man, it's been since I think like March of 2023 when we talked about the Mandalorian when we did the Foundling
Yeah.
episodes. So
Oh yeah.
yeah, we got some catching up on some Star Wars to do here, but
Yes.
So all right, man. So the whole concept of this podcast is just five pretty easy, pretty simple questions. Be as detailed as you want when it comes to answering them. So the first question: what first got you into Star Wars?
This is a funny question, mainly because sometimes I get embarrassed about how I got into Star Wars, because Star Wars, I always knew about it, growing up, and it was the prequel trilogy was coming out when I was younger, and people would talk about that, and it was really popular back when I was in recess, and kids would talk about it, but I just never got into it until The Force Awakens was coming out, and I was like, let me sit down and give these movies a try. I've never, I just hadn't. I knew some things about. I knew Jabba the Hutt. I knew some characters, Luke Skywalker, and all like that. But I did not know the context, and I hadn't seen any of the movies in full. So I was very unaware of like the episode titles, like Episode 4. I didn't know that was the first one that came out. I was like, okay, Episode 4 is Episode 4. It's the fourth one to come out. So I was very naive with Star Wars up until The Force Awakens was coming out. And then I did my research, and I started in chronological order. I started with A New Hope, and that's when I fell in love with Star Wars. That first movie, I was like, this is quite amazing. It's a movie that came out in 1977, and it still holds up today. And it's just this fantastical, amazing sci-fi world. And I was just open to it from the very beginning. And yeah, that was that. The rest was history. The rest was history. I watched New Hope. The rest was history.
Yeah, I mean, man, yeah, when The Force Awakens came out, that like completely like reignited my fandom again, because around like 2005, after Revenge of the Sith came out, like from then on till that trailer for Force Awakens came out, I was just like, I turned into just such a casual guy. I just like would turn them on every once in a while. I didn't watch them very often, but yeah, now when Force Awakens trailer came out, man, I'm in love. I'm very clearly obsessed with Star Wars at this point in my life. I mean, my channel surrounds Star Wars. I mean, obviously the concept of this specific podcast. I mean, I hold The Force Awakens in just such a high regard. A lot more than a lot of other people. I mean, clearly we all know the history of the sequels and all that. We don't need to get into that.
Yeah. And I feel like The Force Awakens over time, like when it first came out, it was loved and highly praised. And I feel like over time, people have kind of like turned on it a little bit, not like completely, but like especially since the sequels to that film came out, people have kind of like, it's a rehash. It's, basically a New Hope. And yes and no at the same time. I feel like, yes, it does have a lot of similar concepts and a lot of similar sequences as A New Hope, but I think it is fresh and new enough with the legacy characters there to stand on its own, and with the new characters as well. But yeah, I love Force Awakens, so that's the spoiler alert. I love Force Awakens. It is the reason why I got into Star Wars, so that's one reason why it holds a really deep place in my heart. I love it, but I digress. I digress.
I do hear most people say out of the trilogy, like a majority of the time, I hear that's their favorite. I mean, obviously, for a lot of people, though, it's still going to be lower on their Star Wars list. I mean, it's my second favorite Star Wars movie of all time. I put it in my top 5 favorite movies of all time, man, because just that whole experience of seeing a Star Wars movie in the theater for the first time in 10 years. I mean, people were clapping, cheering, laughing, crying, man. As soon as that ending part came up, man, I stood right up. I was the first one. I'm sitting there clapping and crying, and just still to this day, every time I watch that movie, I get the same emotions. I still get excited every time I see Luke at the end. Get excited. I've said this in pretty much every single podcast episode of this I've done. Ray Finn BB-8 run to the Falcon, man. I just get so excited, and that whole sequence is just, I don't care what anybody says. It's one of the best Falcon sequences.
The garbage will do.
But yeah, okay. Force Awakens got you into Star Wars, man. It just gives me another reason to love the movie even more. So, all right. For the next question, what's your favorite thing about Star Wars?
I would say this is kind of a tough question because there are so many things to love about Star Wars. And also my answer is both one of the things I love and one of the things that I hate. So my favorite thing about Star Wars is the fans. And I say that because it just brings together a community of people that just love all kinds of things, like all kinds of, fandoms. Usually when you're into Star Wars, it's a community that also loves Lord of the Rings, a community that also loves Harry Potter, that also loves these different fantastical franchises. And you just bring that community together and we can have like something similar to, hold on to and talk about and just have a camaraderie about. On the other hand, I think Star Wars fans can be a little much at times as well. I think they can take things to the next level sometimes. I think they can be a little pretentious and a little, just thinking a little negatively, a little too negatively about certain things too. So it's kind of a double-edged sword, but I would say the fans, just because of how much of a bond and community it is. I love the Star Wars fans, and I'm happy to call myself a Star Wars fan and a fan of this community and franchise. Yeah.
Trust me, I know what you mean, man. When I first started up my actual podcast, that was one of the first things I talked about was this whole toxic fandom stuff. Like, I just don't understand why we just can't have our own opinions anymore. And figuratively say, if I were to say like, oh, Last Jedi is my favorite Star Wars movie, and I am just going to get obliterated in the comments section. Like, we all have our different opinions on Star Wars. I mean,
it's true.
I also look at it, if literally all your Star Wars is the first 6 movies, then just talk about those. Just ignore everything else. Even too, something I'm getting into now for the first time, and almost my 30 years of being a Star Wars fan. I'm starting to actually dip my feet into Legends. I'm in the midst of reading The Heir of the Empire, so I'm reading the Thrawn trilogy because I want to just get all my knowledge of Legends Thrawn before I dip in and go to canon Thrawn, getting ready for the Heir of the Empire movie. But like, have that be your sequel trilogy. Have that entire Thrawn trilogy be your sequels. You don't have to watch any. If you want to watch a few things, like if you like Andor or you like Mando, even the maybe 5 people on the entire planet who actually like the Acolyte. I mean, I don't know why fans have to go to such a disgusting place when it comes to like their opinions. Like, oh, you don't like Rose Tico, okay, you don't like the character, but you don't have to attack Kelly Marie Tran, or if you don't like Jar Jar, attack Ahmed Best, so on and so forth. We all know all of the people who have gotten attacked, even recently over the last few years. It's been directors and some writers, or Kathleen Kennedy herself. It's like,
yeah,
it's just something you guys don't like. If you guys really aren't a fan of Disney Star Wars, stop watching it. Just watch what you like, talk about what you like. I just wish Star Wars was more positive, because I won't lie, man. Last year with the whole Acolyte debacle, or 2 years ago, I don't even remember how long ago.
I think it was 2 years ago. It was 2024. 2024.
Like, I will not lie. I was disgusted to be a Star Wars fan. Like, I just was so ashamed listening to how everybody was talking about that show. And I was so borderline close to just being like, I don't even think I want to talk Star Wars on the internet anymore, because this fandom is just, it's just gross and disgusting. Yeah. I'd rather just talk to people who actually like to talk positively about Star Wars. We can have our differences and opinions, and still at the end of the day, still be friends and all that.
And be respectable. Yes, that's how it should be.
Yes.
Yeah, that's definitely how it should be.
Yes. Instead of like, oh yeah, I like The Rise of Skywalker. Oh, you're an idiot. Oh, okay.
Well, I'm done talking now.
Yeah, all right. I guess that conversation's over. So yeah, man. No, I agree with you. The fandom, it can be amazing. You can meet some amazing people, but you can also meet and see the absolute worst in people too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's one reason why when you ask that question, yes, that is my answer, but it's kind of a double-edged sword.
All right, for the third question, who is your favorite Star Wars character?
I thought about this for a while, and there's so many amazing characters in the Star Wars universe. So many. And it's so hard to pinpoint one, but I might have to go with the most basic answer ever, and it's gonna have to be Luke Skywalker. I love an underdog. That is the first character that I was introduced to in this, franchise. So I have to go with Luke Skywalker. He became it. He started from the bottom, became a master Jedi, and it's just an awesome story. And I don't get tired of watching that original trilogy. Luke Skywalker, I would have to go with him. It's basic, I know, but that's gonna have to be it, man.
So I guess I have to ask, just because I know people's opinions on it. Mm-hmm. What did you think of the way Rian Johnson did Luke Skywalker in Last Jedi?
This is where the comments are gonna come and obliterate me. But I actually didn't hate it. I didn't hate the direction that Rian Johnson went with Luke Skywalker. Do I feel like it was? Was it expected? No, I was not expecting how he portrayed Luke Skywalker and his fate. I wasn't expecting that. But going back to it, I have had to watch Last Jedi multiple times to actually solidify how I felt about Luke, because like we said, there's so much discourse about this character. a lot of negativity about Last Jedi, period. And in regards to Luke. But I do think that it's different. Ryan Johnson had a vision that it was clear that Ryan Johnson had a vision of how he wanted this story to go, how he wanted things to play out, and how he wanted this character written. And if you don't like it, I understand that. I'm not saying that it's not like why would you, dislike the way this character was written? It's different. It's not something that we've seen before from this character. It does feel a little bit out of place, but I honestly enjoyed it. I enjoyed his portrayal of Luke. Um, it was kind of silly. There was the blue milk scene, a little silly, a little lighthearted. Also the whole thing with Kylo. I understand people's qualms and issues with the Kylo scene and how Luke didn't really ask any questions. He just went in, guns blazing, lightsaber drawn on Kylo, and he just I understand the issues that people feel, with that, but I enjoy it for what it was, and I appreciate Ryan Johnson for having a vision of what he wanted this trilogy to look like. Now, there were, different directors going, and we know the whole thing with the sequel trilogy. It kind of feels disjointed just because there's different visions for different movies that we have in the trilogy. I do believe that it should have probably been directed by the same person, all three directed by the same person, so it could feel more cohesive. But I don't hate those last two movies. I people come to me like, how could you not hate these movies? And I just don't. I think one of the main reasons is, yes, this sequel trilogy was the reason why I got into Star Wars, period. So it's always going to have a special place in my heart, no matter if the writing and the direction is, just maybe a little off, a little different. We have Rey saying the final words, of the trilogy.
Rey Skywalker.
And I heard people got up and walked out and booed the movie and all that. Whatever. I don't feel the same way. Do I understand how it could frustrate lifelong Star Wars fans? Yes, I completely understand that, and I'm not going to invalidate that, but that's just not my experience. So, but yeah, the way that Luke was portrayed in The Last Jedi, I didn't hate. I wouldn't say that I absolutely loved it, but I didn't hate it.
I mean, like when you've been waiting 30 years to see Mark Hamill back on screen as Luke Skywalker, and you see him at the end of Force Awakens, and it's like, oh, okay, well, there's Luke, and then we're like waiting another 2 years to wonder what's going on, and the first sequence we get with him is him holding that legendary legacy lightsaber that was his dad's, and then he just chucks it over his shoulder, and you're like,
wait, what's going on?
Yeah, you're like taken aback. You're like, dude, you haven't seen this thing in like 30 years. Last time you saw it, your hand was on it, and you faced your father, and like,
yeah.
And then all of a sudden he's a grouchy old hermit, and he doesn't want to train, doesn't want to do this. Like,
yeah.
I've made the comment because I made an unpopular Star Wars opinion video like 5-6 years ago, and I literally said in there that the way Luke Skywalker is in Last Jedi makes total sense, because literally the line he says is, the Jedi are nothing but failures. That's all the Jedi has ever done. I mean, obviously, again, not to diss the show again, but the Acolyte, clearly you see what happened there. I mean, They don't even talk about it with the council. Clearly, the entire prequel trilogy, I mean, everything that Palpatine does with his manipulation and everything, obviously do things with the original trilogy. And even though I know some people sit there and say that, like, Snoke and Kylo aren't Sith, I mean, whatever. Again, another opinion of yours that you could have, but he just wants the Jedi to end. And I think it makes total sense because, I mean, again, just look at how the Jedi have been for all of these years, and they fail at everything they do. You go to like Clone Wars, and even though I'm not a big fan of the arc at all, like in season 7, you have the Mortez sisters arc, and they talked about how, like, oh, the Jedi came to stop the separatists, but they ended up like destroying half the city and destroying our shop and doing this and that. And it's like, it's kind of hard to be behind the Jedi for that, but I actually think that is one of the best things of the sequel trilogy. Again, I know I'm going to get some hate for that, but that is how I feel about it. I actually think Luke actually wanting the Jedi to fully end, like, you could be Force sensitive, but it's not like you need to, as soon as you know you're Force sensitive, you don't have to be trained to be a Jedi. I mean, another big example, too, is the Ahsoka show. Instead of making just Sabine a little bit of Force sensitive, they flat out make her a Jedi. That's my biggest negative with the Ahsoka series. Just, I don't know why everybody needs to become a Jedi. She could have just been Force sensitive, maybe have her eyes closed and she could just dodge lightsaber attacks. I'm not really sure, but... And even, too, in terms of Luke Skywalker, I mean, obviously, of course, with everybody hating Last Jedi, obviously, of course, with what Jon Favreau did in that season 2 finale of Mandalorian. I mean, I was in tears. I was not expecting Luke Skywalker. I mean, we made so many theories of who it was. Then all of a sudden you see the lightsaber, you see the black glove, you hear that legendary hum of his saber, and then as soon as he walks through the door and he undoes his hood and you see like a 25-year-old Mark Hamill standing there, and you're like they did it. Like, I was not expecting this at all. Like, I was in tears.
I about did a flip.
Yeah. Again, man, you go on YouTube, I mean, you see everybody, like, they're cheering, they're happy, because, again, like, oh, that's Luke Skywalker, not whoever that was in Last Jedi. That's Jake Skywalker. It's like, okay, I mean, whatever. Again, not your Luke. That's fine. I totally get it. But I am actually behind a lot of things that Rian Johnson did for Last Jedi. Some things I wasn't big on, like killing Snoke after hearing, he's supposed to be more powerful than Vader and Palpatine combined, and having Kylo just kill him like that. Killing Phasma, she getting like 10 minutes of screen time, and she was built up in The Force Awakens.
Yeah,
it's just
I agree with that.
I don't know, like, but no, I mean, while yes, I will say Luke is kind of a basic answer, but I mean, you really look at it though, like, he's literally the hero of Star Wars. Like,
it's true. That's true. Very true.
He may not be the chosen one, but he is the one who at least helped redeem his father. I know a lot of people like to say that Luke Skywalker defeated the Emperor and defeated Vader. Vader, yes. The Emperor, no. I mean, clearly we see who kills the Emperor until he comes back in the Rise of Skywalker.
Somehow, Palpatine has returned.
Yes. Another legendary meme. All right. Next question. What is your favorite Star Wars moment?
Once again, I'm probably going to say this with all these questions. There's so much to love. There's so many moments that are amazing in Star Wars. But I would say the one that brought the most emotion out of me is actually the beach scene at the end of Rogue One. That brought the most emotion out of me. And I would say Rogue One is very close to my favorite Star Wars film. Rogue One I feel like the perspective in Rogue One and just these characters that we don't know at the time, we didn't know them. And they serve this purpose, a very specific purpose, and everybody except Andor well, everybody dies at the end, but spoiler alert, everybody dies at the end. But I would say that everybody has served their purpose in the Star Wars universe by the end of this movie. And just that ending was so impactful, and this mission to be accomplished and filling that gap, right before A New Hope happens. I absolutely love it. I saw this movie in the theater, and it just brought so much emotion out of me, and probably the most out of any Star Wars, that wasn't like just completely hype. Like, usually with awesome Star Wars moments, I'm just like, yes, let's go. But with the beach scene, I'm just like, like that, like just locked in completely. I'm hype as well, but I'm just completely locked in as well. So, yeah, the beach scene in Rogue One, the end. Yeah, I love it.
I really like that answer because, clearly for a lot of people, the best moment in that whole movie is the Vader hallway scene. Kind of hard not to pick that because, yeah, it's like you said, you're like, yes, you're watching Vader destroy all these rebels, but yeah, man, that ending in Rogue One.
I was just gonna say that scene is amazing as well. That goes towards so many amazing scenes in so many amazing sequences and moments in Star Wars. But yeah, the beach scene takes it, man.
Now, I also have to ask this. I guess first, did you watch Andor season 2?
I did not. I have not gotten to season 2 of Andor, which I'm kicking myself about because I didn't love Andor the first season going into it. Like the first 5-6 episodes, I wasn't really feeling it. But by the end of season 1, I was actually really loving it. And it kind of made me appreciate those previous episodes. So I did not get to season 2. I'm kicking myself about that, though. I got to get on that.
All I will say then, spoiler free, the last shot or the whole last episode of Andor, all I'm going to say, man, it is going to make the ending of Rogue One hit so much harder. You are going to be devastated.
Okay.
Because I will just say, man, the second I'm not even joking when I say this. The second you finish Andor, start Rogue One immediately, and it is, man. It is gonna. You think it's emotional now? You are gonna be devastated after watching that because, again, kind of like I said,
lead right into Rogue One. I'm guessing you're saying
it will lead right into Rogue One, but just with that devastating ending of watching the Rogue One crew die again, it's just gonna hit. Like you're gonna be devastated. But because kind of like I said earlier, I was the same way. I watched Andor season 1 and I was like, I don't see why everybody thinks this is the best Star Wars show out there. It feels the less like Star Wars to me. And I didn't like Cassian Andor at all in Rogue One. He was my least favorite character, but watching Andor season 2 and then watching Rogue One. After watching Andor season 2, I went right into Rogue One, dude. Rogue One's a 5 out of 5. Like, I have zero problems. I actually like Cassian Andor now because the way he is in the show or the way in the movie explains a lot now with the show. So things make a lot more sense to me. So, but yeah, man.
Give you more appreciation for the character. Yeah.
A lot more. Because, yeah, I came out of that movie and I was like, this guy sucks. I hate him. He was the one I was the happiest to watch get obliterated and destroyed by the Death Star. But yeah, Andor season 2 totally changed that, man. And again, the ending of Rogue One, man, it hits so much harder now. So
good to know.
And for the final question, again, obviously I kind of already know what the answer is. What is your favorite Star Wars film?
I will have to go with A New Hope, 1977. A New Hope. That is my number one. A very close second is, well, there's two movies that are very close seconds, and it is Rogue One that we just talked about, and Force Awakens. Mainly Force Awakens because that is the reason why I got into Star Wars. Period. That's that's the whole reason, you know. And then Rogue One is just because it is Star Wars, yes, but it doesn't follow the same characters that, you know, we follow in, you know, the prequel, sequel trilogies, or the original and those trilogies. So I do enjoy the different perspective, you know, in this world. I love the mission that we have, you know, going on, kind of filling that gap. And, you know, I love Rogue One, but I would say A New Hope has, I'm kind of a sucker for the beginnings of franchises. So even like when it comes to Lord of the Rings, when it comes to The Hobbit, when it comes to you know, Harry Potter and things like that, of course, you know, the entire franchise has things to admire about it. But it's those beginnings, man, where you just see either the underdog or, you know, the main hero at either their lowest or their youngest point. And, you know, it just makes you appreciate their journey that much more. And that's how I feel about Luke. That's how I feel about Han. He's kind of, we're right in the middle of his journey, basically, in A New Hope. But when they meet, it's the beginning of their friendship and, you know, their bond, and, you know, that goes over, you know, it's an overarching bond. So yeah, I would say A New Hope is my favorite. And I don't know if that's a hot take. That might be a hot take. I know people love A New Hope, but most people I talk to would say their favorite film is Empire. But A New Hope, it tops it, in my opinion. It tops Empire and pretty much the rest of the films. It's just my favorite, man. I can't deny.
I respect it. Because
Mm-hmm.
I will say this, man, like growing up, I didn't like A New Hope. I always thought it was so just slow, so boring. But
I get that. I understand that.
it once again, to bring up this movie again, it really wasn't until Rogue One when I started to come around and appreciate it and like it a lot more. It jumped up to my top 5. Over the years, it dropped down again, but also to bring this up too, watching Andor season 2, going right into Rogue One, and then right after that, going right into A New Hope, dude. I look at that as honestly like a whole other trilogy too. Like I call it like the Rebellion Death Star trilogy, where you watch the last, basically if you watch the last half of Andor season 2, Rogue One, and A New Hope, dude, it feels like one perfect, complete story. It's just so phenomenally done. And it was after watching Andor season 2, I jumped
A
New Hope from number 9 to my top 5, and it is borderline a 5-star movie. Like it's like right there. It's just some special effects just don't really hold up too well for me personally, but
understandable.
I do. I have a whole new love for that movie, man. Like you, just seeing the beginning of a franchise. I mean, I hold it special just because of that. Just seeing what the technology was for back then, for them to be able to actually make this movie. Just even to like something I never caught either, like just how action packed it is, like everything on the Death Star, the attack on the Death Star, the trench run. I mean, just everything. Like, really, I'd say the only kind of negative I'd have besides the special effects some of them is it just kind of feels like it's two endings in a weird way. Like you feel like you have a definitive ending, but then it like still goes on for another 20, 30 minutes at least. But I do, man. Like now I have such a newfound love for A New Hope. I'm looking to finally watch the original cut of it because I have the tape back here and I'd love to watch it at some point. But I do, man. I get it. I get why you like it more than Empire. I mean, kind of saddens me Empire's not a little higher on your list, but I understand because, I mean, obviously the emotion of Rogue One, how much you came around and loved Force Awakens, and obviously the beginning of the franchise. So I do. I respect that choice. I have a newfound love for the movie, so it's a good choice. So, all right, guys, that is going to do it for this episode of Tales of a Star Wars Fan. Got to thank my man AJ for coming on. AJ, tell everybody where they can find you and if you got anything new coming up.
So yeah, like I said, 2026 is going to be jam-packed with content from me on my YouTube channel, AJREACTS2, all one word. Also, I'm putting things on socials, so like Reels and YouTube Shorts, Instagram Reels. I'm doing TikToks. I've migrated over to TikTok. I broke down. I said, no, I'm not doing TikTok. No, but I realized there's so many people. There's a whole community over on TikTok that, they enjoy content like this as well. So I went over on TikTok too. So everything you can find me on is AJ Reacts 2. I'm even on Goodreads, Letterboxd, Serialized, all those apps. AJ Reacts 2. I'm constantly watching new stuff. I'm watching new movies and new TV shows. So I'm logging those, getting my thoughts out on those as well. And one thing I wanted to shout out, I know that we didn't really get really deep into things other than the films, but I did want to shout out Star Wars Visions. I absolutely love Star Wars Visions. Mainly the concept of Star Wars Visions, of each episode being their own thing, having a different animation studio, animating and producing these episodes. Season 3 I thought was really cool, even like especially that last episode. I thought the visuals were just amazing. So shout out to Star Wars Visions. That's like one of my favorite Star Wars projects. And it's not technically canon. I don't think it's canon to the overarching franchise, but I do like those little stories and just the overall concept of the show. I'm also going through Clone Wars right now. Slowly but surely, I'm on season 2. And I know that in a lot of iterations of like Clone Wars, so if like you're watching it streaming or on physical on the DVDs, some of the episodes may be out of order. So I'm trying to watch them in order. It's kind of tough, like when I'm watching it on streaming and it goes right into the next episode. I'm like, well, no, I want to, watch them the way they're intended to be, like in chronological order. But yeah, so I'm going through that now, slowly but surely. And there's just some other things here and there that I'm trying to get into, like Tales of the Empire and things like that. So Star Wars does have little projects here and there on streaming, and that I'm trying to dive into, not just the films. Like I do enjoy the films, of course, and I enjoy the shows. The Mandalorian, Mando and Grogu is coming out this year. I'm hyped for that. I'm very excited for that. Just because I love Mando and Grogu. I know people are, feel some type of way about season 3, and Mando might be washed. I don't feel that way. I love Mando and Grogu. I'm ready for the movie. But yeah, I want to dive into like these different pockets and these different projects of Star Wars, because there's a lot more to offer than just the movies, and a lot more to admire than just the movies. I know, Austin, you said that you're getting into the books. That's probably the next thing that I want to get into, the novels and things like that. But yeah, like this is such a vast universe and so many projects. It's not just the films. So shout out to like these, little projects here and there. A lot to admire there.
I have to agree with Visions, man. I love that. I am so excited that they're finally going to dedicate one of those specific stories to actually having a show now in the Ninth Jedi. That was my favorite out of everything of Visions.
Mm-hmm.
The episode you were talking about, the one named Black, I hated it. That was rough for me. That's, to me, is personally the worst episode of Visions for me. But
really,
I tried it. I was watching. I'm like, I don't know. I feel like I have to be in a specific kind of mind state to watch this, maybe. But
I could see that. I think what the attempt was to kind of make something abstract. It kind of felt like a music video as well. I just really love the visuals. It didn't really tell like a complete story or anything like that, but it was more visuals and just the sounds and the visuals to intake. And that's just something that I admired about it. It wasn't like something that is, like I said, canon or feeds into a specific story or narrative, but I still just kind of loved it. And that's the thing about Star Wars. Like I can take in something, you did not enjoy it, I loved it, but we still are Star Wars fans, and we can agree that Star Wars is awesome. I love that. That's why I say my favorite thing about it is the fans. And I met you, and you have this channel. It's awesome. Yeah, I love the camaraderie and the bonding that we could have.
All right, guys, that's going to do it for this episode. Make sure you guys go follow AJ. Make sure you guys head back to the playlist. Check out the previous 5 episodes of Tales of a Star Wars Fan. Hoping to get this back rolling again because I do miss this. I've been in a really big Star Wars mood, so I'm looking to get more people on, get some more episodes going. So, but with that being said, you guys, make sure you hit that like button. Subscribe if you haven't already. And we'll see you in the next one.